Hung Cao, who is the Republican nominee for Senate in the Commonwealth, and he joins us now. Captain, good to talk to you as always, sir.
No, thank you so much, Vince.
What was it like being with the president this morning and getting a chance to spend a bunch of time with him? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, it started out pretty somber. This is the third anniversary of the Abbey Gate IED that killed 13 service members, 11 Marines, 1 sailor, 1 soldier. And what we forget is also the people that were injured and maimed from it. There's this young lady, beautiful young lady in a wheelchair who was paralyzed from the waist down, and this gentleman who lost his arm and his leg, all because of just Joe Biden's ineptitude. I mean, honestly, we were never going to leave that country the way we were. It was going to be 25 special operations guys left behind as a quick reaction force. But if anything was to happen, Vince, we were supposed to fall back to Bagram Air Base, where 75th Rangers was going to circle around the base, and we would start pulling people out, one by one. But instead, they gave that away to the Taliban. So, I mean, this is all on Joe Biden's, hands, and Kamala Harris. And where was Tim Kaine? He was on the Senate Armed Services Committee. He has done nothing. I didn't see him today. And not only that, where was he when we did the drone strike that killed 10 people, including 7 kids and aid workers that they blamed on the Abbey Gate? So this is an entire failure of leadership from the president on down.
And every officer like yourself that I'm aware of, every military officer that I know of, military members broadly, they all say the same thing, which is like, this should not have happened. What was this strategy? Why would you give up Bagram? I don't know a single one who thinks that this was the proper order of events.
No, and where are the stars? Where's General Milley's stars? Where's General McKenzie's stars for that debacle? I mean, no one's held responsible under Joe Biden's presidency. I mean, this goes all the way for everything that's going on in this country. It's all their fault. And, I mean, President Trump even said, Hung, I think they wanted it to fail. I was like, yes, sir, they did, and they wanted to blame it on you.
What was President Trump's demeanor like this morning at that event at Arlington, and what was it like to stand alongside him as he did that wreath line?
Well, he was my commander-in-chief, and I respect him greatly, and he stood there. Well, first of all, Arlington National Cemetery, the Biden administration tried to block him from going there.
Oh, they did try to block him.
Yeah, they did try, and I think they threw one of his poor staffers in jail for, they had him arrested for, trespassing because they didn't want cameras and everything other, even though the families wanted him there. The families wanted him there. The families that could make it there FaceTime with him, and he spent the time to tell them, hey, how precious their son or daughter was. And, he was being what he was, which is a leader, a commander-in-chief. He wasn't checking his watch to see how much time was passed. He spent the time with every single person.
So, I'm sorry. Let me go over a couple of the details that you just shared with us. One of them is you said a Trump staffer was arrested. Do you know for a fact, or may have been arrested? What was that account?
They were. My account was that from what I hear, because the colonel that was in charge of that whole thing was trying to manhandle some of the guys, and he called security. I was there when he's like, call Arlington police. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And I served with this guy. I knew this guy. He's a dork anyways. But, the fact is that they tried to stop President Trump from being there. And it took members of Congress like Congressman Mike Wallace and Darrell Issa and Brian Mast to come there as a CODEL to make sure that President Trump can be there.
And when you say they tried to stop him from being there, how did that manifest itself?
Basically, they were making it very difficult. They said, no, you can't come here because you're a political candidate. It took the members of Congress to come out there, be side by side with him. I rode the vehicle the whole way with Tulsi Gabbard and Mike Waltz, and he was just complaining that this should have never happened the way it was. I mean, it's just a disgrace that the former commander-in-chief wanted to be there with his the families of the fallen Marines and soldier and sailor, and they kept them from being there.
So if I was a journalist who was trying to dig into this a little bit more, whose door should I be banging on right now? Is this the Pentagon who did this?
It would be yes, the Pentagon's ultimately responsible, but the Arlington National Cemetery, Wow. I'll give you the name of the guy later if you want, but yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. Incredible. Yeah, I'd appreciate that. So It's just amazing. Because one of my first reactions this morning upon seeing it was, one, my heart breaks yet again as I think about what happened in Afghanistan for all these families, including the people you just mentioned, were maimed in the explosion as we tried to get out of that country, in that awful way that the Biden-Harris administration orchestrated. But the other thing was, oh boy, I guarantee you the White House was not on board with Donald Trump going to that wreath-laying ceremony. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked to find out that somebody in DOD gets fired for this. Unlike, of course, the lack of accountability in leaving Afghanistan in the first place.
No, you're absolutely right. I was there in January 2021. We left a country that was starting to take the training wheels off. We were, they were ready to start fighting on their own. And what happened was just, it's a tragedy, and it's a criminal. Actually, it's actually criminal what they did. You know that the Taliban right now just passed a law that women cannot be heard in public. Like they can't sing, they can't speak in public. Yeah. Where are all the feminist, movement guys? Where's Michelle Obama with her hashtag, all that stuff? Where are all these people fighting for freedom and liberty for women across the globe? There nobody where to be found.
They're orchestrating a cover-up. Hey, tell us about your next event with President Trump this morning. You went on to Trung Tin. This is as I understand it, a Vietnamese restaurant. Is this a community center, an area for Vietnamese Americans to gather?
Yes, so it's at the Eden Center. It's basically little Saigon over there. Yeah. They're very, very MAGA, and they love the president very much. And the owner is this lady who came here in 2002. And, she was a victim of communism and escaped and came over here with $200. And she opened a whole bunch of stores here. It started with one small restaurant, then she bought another, then, and then a bunch of other stores. There's others. There's a barber. She came over here in 1992, and she opened her own store very recently. You've got people who've come over here who were in prison for 6 years by the communists and tortured in the re-education camp, who came over here with nothing. This is the American dream. And They came over here asking for nothing except for opportunity. And here they are, business owners and entrepreneurs.
And so President Trump arrives with you this morning, and I've seen all this video, to a very warm reception.
Oh, they loved him. They were just shouting his name, and they how they love taking pictures, and so they were just taking pictures away. And President Trump just said, "All right, come on up," and they took a lot of selfies with him. But he was just loving them because the Vietnamese community they know what it's like, right? We escaped communism. We see what this country's turning into, and we're scared to death. And so the Vietnamese Americans here have been supporting him the whole way because he understands our struggle, and he understands that all we want is just an opportunity. We don't want a handout. We just want fairness.
Here's President Trump today with you at Trung Tin, talking to the Vietnamese community, saying that there's some mutual love here.
Somehow, I don't know what it is, you'll have to explain it, but the Vietnamese community loves me and I love them.
Kind of a fun moment. And one of the things I've noticed, Hung Cao, is that both you and he are totally right about this. We talk to Vietnamese Americans. There's a tremendous amount of enthusiasm about Trump and a lot of concern about the direction the left is taking our country.
Oh, absolutely. Kamala Harris is an absolute communist. What she wants to do with what was it, unrealized potential? So they want to tax you on your
on your unrealized gains. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Stuff that it might be worth someday. It's ridiculous. And what Tim Wolf did in Minnesota, where he wants to basically have a snitch line, he had a snitch line so that you can tell on your neighbors. This is exactly what communists do. And we're not going to allow that to happen in the United States because we escaped that. We're not going to let this country turn into what we ran away from. Mm-hmm. And I reminded President Trump that next year is the 50th anniversary of the fall of Saigon. And I'll be the first Vietnamese American U.S. senator who will be inaugurated on the 50th anniversary. The 50 years after I fled this country, I'll be, sworn in as the a U.S. senator for the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Pretty amazing. I do wonder, as you conduct this campaign, and I just want to ask you, first of all, how the campaign is going, but secondly, as it relates to you being the first Vietnamese American senator, I can't help but think that is a big deal in Northern Virginia. I've noticed when I go in to vote among the languages on my ballot, Vietnamese. That's not a mistake. There's a lot of Vietnamese Americans who live in Northern Virginia. How much of a difference might that make in this election, Hung Cao?
I think a lot of the immigrants, not just the Vietnamese Americans, the immigrants, they see themselves in me. They see their children in me and their grandchildren, the potential of what they could be. You know what I mean? So, to come here with nothing and to rise to the top is pretty, that is the American dream. That's what people came here for. People who came here legally did this. And so it's going to be a game changer in 2022. And that's why Tim Kaine is running around now, on your taxpayer dollars to try to remind people he's still relevant and still alive. He's like a cicada. He comes out every 6 years when there's an election, and now he's running around blowing a harmonica. Like, you're not going to catch me blowing anything. I'm just going to go out there and tell people what I'm going to do for this country.
Yes. And how much is your fortune as a candidate tied up with President Trump's fortune as a presidential candidate? Because right now I'm looking at numbers that show President Trump within a very close proximity to Kamala Harris. That's a huge deal in Virginia. It's within the margin of error. So you're looking at a coin toss right now. How much does your success depend on his success this November?
Well, I think it's symbiotic. I think that we will help with Northern Virginia, like I said, with the immigrant community and the minorities. And then in Southwest, in Southwest Virginia and Hampton Roads area and Richmond, they're gonna go for President Trump. And so, look, Virginia is always late breaking. Any analyst will tell you that Virginia will come out late. And, the polls right now are just, look, it's just like asking you who's going to win the Super Bowl next year. It's too early.
Yeah, well, it sure is. All right. Well, Hung Cao, thank you very much.